Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I titled this message, When Bad News is Right Around the Corner. When Bad News is Right Around the Corner. Now, I've done similar audios in the past talking about when negativity is about to show up and how to prepare, and I've just given you various scriptures to encourage some of you all who have already received some news. I've also given you examples of family members and friends and co-workers and all sorts of stories that talk about toxic stuff, right? The types of things that you're trying to get over, this types of stuff that you need to put in God's hands, right? Well, now I am talking about when bad news is right around the corner. You can feel it. You might even see it. And it involves others, though, not you. Not you. This message isn't about you. It's about others. God will move on us to talk to some folks about what is right around the corner. Sometimes what happens is there's a move of the Spirit where God will use some people to come to others to tell them that you need to go to church. And maybe that person hasn't been to church in years. God will move on his chosen ones to speak words of wisdom. And meanwhile, that person is saying, why are these people saying these things to me? Why is it that all of a sudden I'm getting all these invites to go to church? What's up with all of these warnings about this issue or that one? I mean, I haven't even thought about that kind of stuff in years. Or what does it mean when I dream about, and then that person fills in the blank? God is a loving God. He's also a merciful God. And when you got a lot of stuff happening with someone and it has a God ring to it, you can see that there's a move of the Spirit taking place. There's some signs, some visions, some wonders, some wisdom. There's some warning. There's some correction, rebuke, you name it. 9 times out of 10, something's about to go down. It's real simple. Something is about to go down. There's an increase of health woes. The person's in and out of the hospital. This one right here, this example right here, it really touches me as I'm talking about it, because this is the month. I'm recording this in May 2017. This is the month that 2 years ago my grandmother passed away. And leading up to her passing away, God, in all of his grace and all of his mercy and all of his loving kindness, he let us know in so many different ways that he was taking her home. Okay. Now, some folks, they wanted to believe whatever they wanted to believe. But when God is allowing you to see what is taking place right before your eyes, you can either receive the truth or you can go along with some fantasy or some lie. But I didn't go along with what others thought or suspected or assumed. I went with what God showed me, that he was taking her. Now, sometimes the news that you receive about these individuals that are about to experience some bad stuff, okay, it might churn your stomach. It might cause you to want to run away for a while. When you start to see some things unfold, it might make you want to disconnect from everybody that's around that person or that group. Sometimes what you see can be so hurtful that it causes you not to want to eat. You might not want to sleep. But I tell you, though, that even in witnessing what is taking place with someone as the bad news is coming together, you, my friend, will have to take all of that stuff and talk with the Lord about it, write about it, record it if you're not one for writing. but give yourself a release. Otherwise, you can get caught up in somebody else's mess, and now you're no good for your own family. You're not any good for yourself, you see. Bad news hurts. Bad news sometimes makes people very angry at God. And the person who's about to go through much may end up turning on God because they never really was close to him to begin with. You see, in these messages, when I'm warning people about things to come, I'm also telling them they need to draw near to the Lord. Open up your word. Listen to the audiobooks. If you don't read the Bible, then at least listen to the biblical audiobooks or MP3 audio that's out there. But get some word in you so that you can be able to sustain all of the pressure that is due to come. Some folks, they feel like, oh, I'm going to be all right. You know, you got some of them folks that are like that. I'm going to be all right. But you don't know. You don't know. God knows, though. Because why would he send so many people to tell you you need to go to the church? Why would he send so many people, right, to tell you that you need to do A, B, and C? You see? Some of you all, you caught hold of the messages. You realized what the truth was. And so you walked in it and you covered yourself. So when the problem showed up, you were able to see the solutions and deal with them sooner rather than later. Other people know that's not what took place. Instead, you know what you did. You was popping pills. You was burying yourself in a book. Some of you others was going on all sorts of vacations. And then other people was spending up money that they didn't have just to run away from all of the trials. And then there were other people who thought that if they could get a new partner or live in a new location or whatever, everything was going to be okay. Well, how's that working? How's that working for you? You see, now you're looking at other folks that's going through or about to go through because the writing is on the wall. See, I don't believe when people say they okay and they all right. I got to see the fruit for myself. And the fruit says that some folks are going to see nothing more than more drama on top of more drama because God is calling people. And he has his chosen, but they're rebelling against him because they don't agree with certain things that God has done in the past. Or I don't like, the type of folks that God has used to tell me this, that, and the other. It doesn't matter what you like or don't like, right? Some of you all, you've looked at folks and you said to yourself, I'm not going to go there with you about things dealing with God because I'm just here just to share a word with you and move on. And you didn't argue. You didn't curse. You didn't make a scene. You just said what you needed to say and you walked away. Now, we got some family members and friends who have been repeatedly warned about certain things that they're into. Okay. And some of you all, you can fill in the blank of whatever those things are. And I don't care if they're the most vile, nastiest, dark stuff that folks are into. There is that opportunity for people to clean up, right? And some of you all were used to warn some people. You know what? You might want to stop doing this. This isn't a good idea. Okay. And you didn't say anything about God, Jesus, church, or anything. You were just being a friend. Okay. But somebody insists on continuing to do some things. Now, it's not an issue for you as long as it's way over there, right? When it's over there in that city, in that country, in that town, you don't care too much. But when the issues show up on your doorstep, you have every right to confront folks. You have every right to protect yourself as well as your children. You have every right to call law enforcement if necessary. Because you see, by the time that issue gets to you, it's already out of control. Whoever said that they had it under control, well, why is it on my doorstep? You should ask. Because see, if you got that thing under control, then I shouldn't have to be dealing with the phone call, the email, the text, the people saying this, that, and the other about you. If you are really doing all that you're supposed to be doing, living righteously according to the will of God, then why is it then that I am stressed? Why is it that I have to address things with you that I thought was long over with, done away with? Okay, water under the bridge. Why does this thing keep showing up? And I'll tell you that sometimes it's not even about a person picking up a phone or going over to a person's household. Sometimes it's just that old stuff that's still sitting out there that they have yet to resolve. And that's why it ends up becoming a problem for you and other folks. Because they lied, you see, and said that they had some things under control. So now the bad news shows up, and maybe they don't tell you. Maybe it shows up in the form of a letter, or maybe it shows up on your doorstep, or maybe somebody in the family tells you about some things, or maybe you get an email and somebody says, oh, I got some information about your whoever that is, right? And then you're stunned. Once again, you got to take that news over to the Lord and ask the Lord to deal with that person. The fact that they exaggerated, lied, covered up, was secretive about some things. We got too many folks who think that they are their own gods, as I've said before. But what they don't know is that the one true God is more powerful than anyone or anything on the face of this earth. And he can put some air in somebody's lungs, and he can also take that air out. But we don't get angry with him. We don't get angry with him over stuff that is meant to get people to walk righteously, to do better, okay, to live according to his will. Yes, people are going to get their behinds whipped, so to speak, okay? We can recognize that when it comes to a parent and child relationship. We need to recognize this when it comes to God dealing with some folks who are about to experience some of the worst stuff that they may have never experienced. So we don't take to heart everything that people go through. Some folks may look at us and say, well, you're a bit cold because you don't cry when they cry, or you don't get emotional about it. Why should I? There's absolutely no reason for me to go off about what other people are going through. Because I got God. Because I know God. Because I love God. And then if you were that one that was warning them, why would you? Why would you? Because, hey, God, he used me. He told me to go over there and talk to that person. He told me to upload the audio. He told me to show them the video. He told me to buy the book. He told me to give them the money or whatever. So now that all this negative stuff is taking place with them, I really don't have anything to do with that. All I can say is that I pray that God will bring them through. That his angels will work. That there will be healing. You know, whatever it is that you say. But people have to understand that God is not like man or woman. And that when we go to him, especially when somebody has hurt us, because some folks are going through or will be going through because they repeatedly say things and do things, and they think that they're fighting with the human flesh, with the son, with the daughter, with the aunt, the uncle, a cousin, and what have you, when they're really fighting with the God that's behind that aunt, that cousin, that mother, that sister, that brother, or what have you. You see? And people who are ignorant to spiritual things, they don't think like that. That's why you have to be mindful of who you're talking about, who you're dealing with, right? Because we got some friends, but we also got some foes. We got some people who love us, but they don't love God. We got some folks who lie, who steal, who connive, who are secretive, who are shady, as the street likes to say. And when you put those people's names on your lips and you give those names over to the Lord will have his way, especially if they are a hindrance to what God is doing in your life. He will have his way. And instead of you falling over from bad news, and instead of you losing your footing because you can't stand what you just heard, instead it's them. I can't believe. I'm trying to make sense of this. Why would your God? I mean, who would do this? Sometimes there's some things that go on behind the scenes when we see people grieving so much. There's things that go on behind the scenes that they'll never let us know, especially in mainstream media. You think they're going to let you know when their child is murdered, what was going on behind the scenes? Especially if there's no video to tell the story. You think that some folks is going to be truthful? That's why you reserve your pity. You don't be so quick to take anyone's side. And you don't assume that you know anything just because somebody told you something. Because there's a lot of folks who lie. So, bad news right around the corner. The writing is on the wall with some folks. All these invites to go to church, all this spiritual sounding types of things that are being said to these people, all these different places that they need to go that are beneficial, that are helpful to them, but yet they don't want to go. Bad news is right around the corner. So God's mercy shows up in so many different ways. God's warnings show up. God's love shows up. But do people receive any of it? Well, thank you as always for taking time out of your schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to subscribe. Also, if you haven't given, we do welcome donations. And if you would like to reach out to me because there's some things that you just want to talk about, by all means, you can reach me at NichollMcGuire@gmail.com. Blessings to you.